Hey everyone, Emmett from Steveston Creative here, and if you're not aware of who we are, we make custom LED neon signs just like the one you see in the background here. So the video today we're going to be upgrading our CNC machine. This is our CNC router. We've had it for 5 years and we're going to upgrade it to a newer model. So this is an X-Carve 1000mm. We purchased it in 2018 and we've used it for our business for the past 5 years and it's served us really well, but we're upgrading to an updated model from another company. Let's see if you can guess who it is. So this is one of 5 boxes, and inside it is our Onefinity Elite Foreman. So this is a much larger format CNC machine. It has a 4 foot by 4 foot cut capacity. It's got hardened steel rails, ball screws, closed stepper motors, a whole bunch of features that makes it a huge upgrade from the machine that we had previously. So this video I'm going to do an unboxing, what comes inside the boxes when you get them, and once you get it all put together I'll do a quick comparison video between the two machines and why I decided to upgrade. Full disclosure that Onefinity did send us this machine. I reached out to them for a partnership and they were gracious enough to agree to what we proposed. So thank you to Onefinity for that, and I'm looking forward to making some signs on this machine. So let's get started. I haven't opened these up yet. I just opened this one to take a picture of the box, but let's get into it. So Onefinity, the instructions say that you should keep all the boxes in case you ever need to send a piece back to them for replacement, or if you're going to maybe upgrade something down the line. They have a trade program. So I'm going to open these up pretty carefully and see what's inside, and we'll go from there. Some of the boxes have a sticker on them that says "this way up," but it's on the outer box, it's not on the inner box, so it's kind of hard to tell. And let's see here, just slice along the edge here, open that up. This thing is huge compared to the other machine. This is the first time I've actually seen it in person, so it's pretty cool. So, a little bit hard to tell what the rails are right off the bat. I suspect this is the X rail, which is a Gantry. I might be wrong. It'll be easier to tell once I get the these foam panels off here. So we will do that. Just gonna slide it off the box. And I think the combined package, like all 5 boxes, it was like 240 pounds was the build weight. So this thing is heavy. I think each box weighs like 60 pounds. So you can see just how beefy these are. These are 50mm wide hardened steel rails. So there's 2 steel rails, and then I also got one to add to the top of it called the Stiffy, so that makes the X rail even more rigid. I'm going to open this up, see if I can figure out which one this actually is. I'm pretty sure it's the X rail or the Gantry, but let's just have a look here and see. I'm going to cut the serrator up. Everything's really well packaged. So I was mistaken, this is actually one of the Y rails, because I can tell because of it doesn't have the Z slider on it. Take that off and we'll put that in the box in a minute. So yeah, very well packaged up to protect all the rails and all the components. So you can see here as well, there's cardboard protection on the ball screws to keep them protected and safe during shipping. So I'm just going to cut that off. So this is one of the Y rails, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they're labelled. So there's the first one. This thing is very weighty. So you can see it's kind of rocking up and down in the center. I think there's some blocks that go underneath it here to support it after the fact. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's any. It says B1 here. So you can see its label on the end. You can't see it, but it says B1 connector on that end. Okay, so that's the first one. I'm going to move this back out of the way. Okay, nice box. Well, this one's got a drag chain on it for the wiring. So it's probably upside down if the drag chain is going that way. So this must be the Y1 rail, because it's got connections for the X2 and the Z axis. So let's open it up here and see. Ah, my lighting. You didn't see that, didn't happen. So this is the Y1 rail. I didn't notice that on the other one, I'll have to take a look. So the difference on this one, I'll just spin it around so you can see. As you can see, there's a drag chain carrying all the wiring for the different axes, the Z axis and the X axis, the gantry. And so that's why this one has a drag chain and the other one didn't, because the other one doesn't need to carry all of that wiring. It all connects to the left side of the machine. So then this one says Y1 on the end of the rail. So this is kind of the front left corner of the machine. This is what connects to the X axis. You can see all the wiring in here. It's got the X2 power, which is and then there's the Z2 power that connects to it as well. Oh, I guess that light was off. Should have had that on the whole time, shouldn't I? Oh well. Okay. So that is our Y1 rail. Oh my god, it's heavy. It's like 60 pounds or something, I think. But yeah, this is the Y1 rail. I'm going to put this back out of the way, beside the Y2 over here. Now for the gantry. So this is the X rail. It goes across from left to right, and this is what the Z axis connects to. We have an X rail. Okay, so yeah, I turn it upside down because the drag chain should be sitting on top of this rail here to support it. And it says X1 on the top here, it's written X1, X1. So let's cut this one open and see what's inside. So what you see here is where the Z axis connects to. This is the back of the machine, and so the Z axis was going to connect here to the front, and then this is the left side of the machine to the right side of the machine. It's flipped for you, but so to give you a sense of scale here, underneath here I've got a 5 foot by 5 foot piece of Baltic birch plywood, and yeah, that should be able to take the footprint of the machine. The motors actually hang over that, but the machine should be able to be supported on a 5 foot by 5 foot square. The cut capacity of the machine is 4 foot by 4 foot, and then you could also tile pieces through it. So if you wanted a 4 foot by 8 foot sign that you were working on, you could also do that as well. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that is the gantry. It's going to go from left to right. Probably shouldn't drop it like that. It moves very smoothly. Okay, let's move this out of the way. There's one more long box to open, and then one cute box, and then that's it. So this box is quite a bit smaller than the other three. That's because it's only got one rail in it. So this is what we call the Stiffy. So it's a third 50mm rail that goes on top of the X-axis or the gantry, and it gives it even more rigidity. Let's open it up and see what's inside. You can see this is just one rail. It's got a connector on each side, and I suspect it's got a connector to put it all together anyway. This just pops off. This just pops off. And then, so this is what connects to the top of the where the Z axis will be. It's very sturdy. so that's like that. So if I bring the x-axis back again here for a moment, you can see what the Stiffy is for. So the Stiffy will go on and they go at the back. So if I put this here, it just kind of sits right on top like that. It all kind of keys in together. And then these two get connected together. So there you go. Now you can see it's very beefy. The hands are covered in oil because there's obviously lots of oil on these to keep them all lubricated. So I'm going to push that out of the way. And then I have one box left to open, so this is a box with all the other components in it. Okay, so these things are all labelled. This box says motors, so this is the stepper motors. The controller, so this is the control box for the power, I suspect. And then this one's labelled Masso, and so this is the Masso controller that will control the machine essentially. Use that to put your G-code into and control the machine. This one says Emmett and it says 80mm, so I suspect this is my spindle mount. Doesn't say what this box is. We'll find out when we open it up. Team Onefinity. So it comes, this little plaque comes in the box. It's a piece of baseboard and there's a note on the back of it. And it says, "Thank you for your order, Emmett. Your machine has been quality approved and this is a test. Enjoy." It's got a happy face. So it says Team Onefinity and this is the first carve on our machine. Pretty cool. And the last box here is the Z slider. Hey. So yeah, in total in that box there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other boxes, and then the baseboard with our first carve. So let's open these up and see what's inside. I'm going to start off with the Z slider. So this is will attach to the front of the x-axis, the gantry, and that's what will hold the spindle or the rider. Lifting it out of the box here. So this is the heavy duty Z slider. It's got 20mm hardened steel rails, sealed bearings, and the ball screws to power it. And I'll have to double check and see which mount this is. I'm pretty sure that's an 80mm mount, but let's see. I'll measure it. I ordered an 80mm, but maybe it comes separately. Let's do a quick measurement here. Yeah, so that's the 80mm slider or 80mm mount. So because I plan to upgrade from a compact router to a spindle someday, I just went straight for the 80mm. You can get a little sleeve that attaches in here to hold the router in the meantime until I get that. Okay, so that is the slider. Team Onefinity. Okay, what do we have in here? It says Emmett on it, and it says 80mm. So this is a bunch of little attachments. Onefinity. So this is a touch probe. 3-axis touch probe. What do we have here? I suspect these things have little brushes, so I suspect this is for the dust collection. So this is a dust collection kit for the 80mm spindle. So this is the socket dust boot. You can see the brushes, the arms that attach it to the Z slider, and then some information and some stickers. And yeah, I think there's a thing here where you can scan it, and then there's a leaflet from Rowdy Roman, so he does lots of 3D printed elements in partnership with Onefinity. So different upgrades, that, and then obviously this is a bit from Bits and Bits Company. So we always use Bits and Bits Company anyway. What is this? A free 1/4 inch down cut bit from Bits and Bits Company. That's awesome. We use their bits all the time. Okay, so that's all the dust bit stuff. The touch probe. I'm going to put that back in. And then this box doesn't have anything labelled on it. So maybe it's a box of hardware. So this is full of cables. And it says spare, so a bunch of spare pieces. Interesting. Power cables. These are for the homing sensors. This is the arm to connect the screen to the front of your machine. And this is the mount, I guess, to attach that to the machine. And all the homing, infrared homing sensors as well. So, okay, put all that stuff back in. So this is a Masso touchscreen. So this is the touchscreen that's used to control your machine. There's a G3 chip inside it, and it connects to the front of it, and that's what you use to send all of your designs to the machine. It's a very clever controller. Big upgrade from what we had previously. Whoa, this thing's huge. Also, it actually comes with a little USB stick. That's helpful. I'm going to set this there for now. And so this is the controller. It's like a 15-inch screen. It says it's passed final quality assurance inspection. Tool setter, XYZ Pro, laser. Okay. I'm going to keep this one in the box for now because I do not want anything happening to it. So this box says motors. Oh, sorry, this box says controllers. So this is what powers everything. The controller and the machine, the separate motors and everything. So it's a pretty simple box. There's just one piece in here. There you go. So this is kind of like the power for the machine. And then the last box to open is the motors. So this is the closed loop stepper motors that attaches to the X, Y, and Z rails, and that's what powers the machine. So four more. Oh wait, I guess there's one motor already attached to the top of the Z, and so these are. I don't think these are labeled because it probably doesn't matter which goes where. It says closed loop stepper motors, power alarm. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the location of the camera here, and I'm going to lay everything out kind of roughly how it's set up. I'll show you everything that came with the machine, and then I'm going to start working on our X-carve table here. Okay, so I've unboxed everything, as you can see, and I've temporarily put it together. So I've actually got it sitting on 2 sheets of 5 by 5 Baltic birch plywood. So that's kind of the footprint of the machine. It is a little bit bigger once we put the motors on the back. The motors on the side, it ends up being like 64 inches by 64 inches. But the 60 inches by 60 inches does work. I just wanted to set it out here to make sure that the size is correct before I adjust the size of the torsion box table on my own CNC machine, or on my own, where the X-carve is sitting. I'm going to have to increase that table to fit the Onefinity. But yeah, I'm just going to go through kind of everything that, now that it's all unboxed, I'll walk you through everything that was included. So we have, this is the X-rail, it's also known as the Gantry, and there's a drag chain along the back here that carries all of the cabling, and these two need to be connected. So I've got the Stiffy just sitting on top here, unbolted for now. None of this is bolted together, it's just sitting like this. So the Z carriage, you'll see the Z slider is on the front there. It's going to get bolted on to the front, and that's what's going to hold the spindle, which for now I'm going to be using a Makita trim rider. And then moving over, so it's got the Y1 rail on this side, and there's also a drag chain on this side, and then that's the Y2 rail over there. So you can see kind of the scale of the machine. It's a huge machine. It can fit a 4 foot by 4 foot sheet of plywood or acrylic. We do lots of cutting acrylic, so this is going to be really helpful. So yeah, the rails, there's a 50mm wide hardened steel rails on both Y axes, so Y1 and Y2, and then 3. So as a standard, the X-axis comes with 2 rails, and then you can do an additional Stiffy rail on top to give it that bit more rigidity. So we did decide to do that. And then all of the axes you can see here has these ball screws in between the 2 rails, and there's a ball screw here, and then there's also a ball screw on the Z-axis as well. So just doing a quick run through all the different components. This is the controller, so it's essentially the power box for the whole machine. So all of the cables will get plugged into this, and the power cables, your vacuum can get plugged into this, and the router. And inside this there's also like an automatic switch that it will power the router and the vacuum on and off as you need it. So that's really helpful. What you can see here, this is kind of like the brains of the machine. So this is the Masso touchscreen. That's a really important part of the Elite series from Onefinity. So this is kind of like an industrial grade controller, and it's a really, really powerful machine that it sends all of the signals. So when you go in and create a design in your software, we like to use Fusion 360, but there's also vCarve, there's Carve Code, there's lots of different softwares out there to create the files for this kind of machine. This controller will then read that information and send it to the machine. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to using this. There's a lot of functionality packed into this touch controller that we didn't have on our previous machine, on our previous CNC, so excited to get into using that. So these are the stepper motors. So there's 3 sitting on top of the bed there, and there's also one that's already attached to the top of the Z slider. So these will get attached to the back of the Y rails, one on each Y rail, and that's what that's what spins the ball screw around to bring the machine forwards and backwards. So these will get attached on top of this. So these are special motors called closed stepper motors. And what's interesting about these compared to our previous machine is that a closed stepper motor, the information is sent from the controller to the motor to tell the machine to move, and it also sends information back to the controller to kind of give feedback to let the controller know did the machine actually do what it was supposed to. So that's really helpful. So yeah, there's these on each Y rail, and then there's also one that gets attached on, it must be on the far side over here. So there's one that gets attached over here and to the X rail as well. So 4 stepper motors altogether. Moving on then, so these are the power cords that will get connected to the touchscreen and the controller. This is a complementary end mill, a complementary bit from Bits and Bits Company. So we typically use Bits and Bits Company for all of our bits anyway, so that's really cool to have another one. So there's a 1/4 inch down cut bit in here as a complementary add-on. This is the arm that attaches to the front of the machine here, and then the controller will get attached to that, so it's kind of a swivel arm. You can move it in and out of the way. And all the different attachments for that, and the cable. So the really great thing about the Onefinity versus many of the other machines that you'll see on the market is how quick it is to set up. It's very plug and play. You can set it up in like half an hour to an hour. So it comes in the 3 large sections plus the Stiffy, so that's 4, and then the box with all of this additional stuff in it. So the previous machine, my X-Carve, it took us about somewhere between 12 to 16 hours to assemble it. It came as a kit of parts and you had to assemble every single piece. So this is a much easier setup than that, much faster, and it just means you can get it all set up and get carving within the day. So that's pretty amazing. So these are all the cables to connect all the different motors to the rails, and what you see here, so it says Team Onefinity. This was actually the very first piece that was carved using this machine. So when they're in the factory putting this together, fabricating the machine, they test the machine out to make sure it's doing everything it's supposed to, and they carve this Team Onefinity into a piece of baseboard, make sure it's all doing everything correctly, and then they've got a little note written in the back there that says, hey, we've tested your machine, it works, thanks for your purchase. So that's cool to see. I'll go around the other side here. So I talked a little bit about the Z slider. So there is a ball screw here, and then 2 20mm sliders, so it's a very strong Z slider, and the closed stepper motors on top as well with the Masso controllers. And then all these parts are to do with the dust collection system. So there's a dust boot that ships with the machine, and these are the arms that connect it to the slider here, and this is the XYZ probe. So when you set down your material, you have to tell the machine where the material is relative to the coordinates in the machine. So this is what does that. I'll show that in a future video. And these are the infrared homing switches. So these get attached to the various axes, and the machine slowly moves down towards the front, and then when you turn on the machine, you'll typically home it to get everything reset for a brand new carve. So I think that's everything. So the next step I have to do after this, as you can see in the background, or you might not be able to see it very well, we still have the X-Carve set up. The footprint of the table that we have the X-Carve on is a lot smaller. I think it's 54 inches by 47 inches. The footprint for this machine is essentially 60 by 60, and then the motor's overhang as well. So I need to extend this table to be 60 by 60. So that's the next step I need to do. Take off the X-Carve, extend the table, and go from there. So that's what you'll see next. Thanks.